Picture this. You just stepped in your own microgreen farm and every inch of it is perfectly planted. Rows of vibrant green stretching under soft light in a space that is just right. This is where your hobby scales up into a thriving business. Welcome to the Microgreen Thumbcast. Today, we're going to zoom in on the expansion and space and gear to make that next big move to get you going. Whether you're planning small scaling up, or a large commercial leap like we did, it all starts with the space you grow in and the equipment they use. So let's get into how to make your dream space a reality. And let's welcome in my co-host, as always, Andy. Andy, how you doing today?
Good. It's been a good week. A couple more podcast upgrades, so I'm excited.
Yes.
Just making sure they all work tonight. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yes, for sure. So you started growing and maybe selling a bit, and you're just looking around and thinking that you can add 2, 3, 6 more racks. This is what we did. We started planning out, like, where can we fit these racks? How can we do this? And discuss the importance of well-thought-out space aligns with your business goals and production needs. I'm sure, Andy, when you started scaling up, you kind of took a look back and like, where can you go? I know you've moved spaces and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we've moved 3 times and hopefully 4 times by the end of next month or the month after that or the month after that. All depends on how it plays out. But I mean, I just shared something in my Facebook group. I think it was yesterday or today, when I had a picture that we had posted 3 years ago where we had 2 racks and that was it. So it's kind of neat to look back. And that's why I always do in the group as well, the monthly, farm, post old pictures of your farms. You can kind of see where you used to be, that way you're proactively taking pictures and keeping, kind of a visual log of where you've been. It's important to look back and to see how far you've come.
Yeah, sometimes we forget like where we came from and how soon it's been since you've moved up in that. So taking the pictures and that Throwback Thursday thing is awesome to look at other people's stuff and where you were at 1, 2, 3 years ago. And you never thought you would be here, but it's here. And that's by careful planning and planning stuff out. When we decided to go adding actual racks instead of the ones that we got out of the restaurant, okay, now where are we placing these? And like, we got this much room to the wall, so we can fit another 3-foot rack in there, or do we just want to go ahead and go to the 4-foot racks and just have an extra 2-foot space? We want to put a 2-foot rack there. What do we want to do? I remember them discussions. It was interesting because we were fitting it into a dining room area, so you had to work around confinements of a house and spaces where walkways were at and walls were coming in and everything else. And then moving stuff to the garage and how are we going to plan that out? And then it got very tight in the garage, in the grow space, everywhere. And that's when we started making sure we were looking at we already kind of were looking at the commercial space, but we really had to look at commercial space at that point because we just had no more room to grow. So we needed more space so we could grow. So that's how we decided here. But everything was carefully planned out where we were putting stuff. And when you're in a small space, you kind of really got to carefully plan out, even more so, where you're putting everything else. Even when you're in a commercial space, I'm sure, Andy, you've come across this and changed a lot as well. In a commercial space, it's very vital of where you're going to put stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, we every single time when we go and look at a new space, we always do a drawing essentially after the fact. I measure everything out, and if you're going to go look at a space, make sure you get measurements. If you go home without measurements, you wasted your time because ultimately you need to be able to draw out and lay out and figure out where things are and make note of where the outlets are. I usually take tons of pictures. I take video of the whole entire place, so I've got 360-degree video of the whole space because ultimately, if you say, oh, well, that big long wall's where I'm going to put all my racks. And then you come back in, 2 months later and you get started and you realize that whole wall doesn't have one single outlet, or
Not good.
something like that. I mean, it's, you realize really quickly how few outlets you have when you move into a new space or even start up a new space, because I mean, we were in the same boat when we were in our dining room. We only had a couple outlets in there and I'm pretty sure they were all running on the same circuit, so you can only go so far. But when I got down into our basement and we had a couple dedicated circuits down there, so it bought us a little more time. But I mean, at the place that we're moving into, hopefully in the next couple of months, I think we've got 22 dedicated outlets that we're going to have installed just so we have, massive amount of expansion capability, but just stuff you have to think about, because I remember at one point in my group, somebody posted a picture about a layout that they had drawn out for a space they were trying to set up. And, it was great that they did that because we were able to give them a lot of feedback. Joe was really great with that, on different possibilities and kind of your workflow. You really have to think through, from start to finish, what makes it easy for you to move through the farm space. So definitely layout is super, super important.
Yep. Layout's definitely important. We've actually have moved 3 times of stuff that we got over here, harvesting tables, planting tables. where we're putting the racks, obviously, we're the same in the commercial space. They're still there. Some of it's because of the neighbors. We had to move some things, but that's a whole other subject. But yeah, careful planning out. Not as important when you got 3,000, 3,500 square feet, 3,500 square feet to west with, but it's still important. Where you're going to put your hose, where you're going to put your rack for harvesting, knives, where you're going to put your gloves at, all that, where you're going to put your seeds at. That stuff all comes in. And like Andy was saying, the workflow is the most important. When you're working in one area, you want to stay working in that area. You don't want to have to walk and go get something and come back, because that time adds up. And when you're harvesting as much as me and Andy and some others are, them steps add into time. And I'm sure you've messed with that with your flows as well, Andy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have things set up specifically to where you can really easily get to everything you need to get to on a very short distance. So our harvesting tables, for example, are kind of split, and then down the middle is an actual supply rack, and that's got
Mm.
gloves on both sides. It's got scales on both sides. It's got weights from when we plant on both sides. That way, it doesn't matter what table you're working on, you can easily get to everything you need to get to without crossing over somebody else. Potentially running into someone or having to walk around someone or potentially tripping over someone. So we have it set up to be very, very efficient for that reason. That's why I mean, we spend a ton of time long before we move into a space determining the layout that makes the most sense. And it's definitely worth the effort, because ultimately, if you end up maxing out the room that you're in, you need to know ahead of time, how can you get as much stuff in there as possible? And even though the space that we're getting ready to move into is going to be huge compared to what we actually need, we're already setting it up for success to where we can fill that whole space as efficiently as possible. So we're not going to waste our time. We go in there, we're doing it right from the very get-go. And then hopefully a year or two down the line, we've maxed that space out, then we'll be very happy that we did that.
Yes, for sure. And another thing, when you're going to a new space, no matter if it's in your own home or if it's a commercial space, take a tape measure with you and actually measure the measurements. Don't use your feet.
Yeah.
Don't use guesses, because that will throw you off big time. And you think you can fit 12 racks here, and it comes out to you can only fit 8 racks. Well, then that changes. Well, did it work? Will that space work for you or not? So take a tape measure with you, measure everything: floor, ceiling, walls, where the doorways are, all that stuff, and write it down before you leave the space. When we was looking at commercial space, had a piece of paper, pen, and a tape measure with us. Them are the 3 things that we brought. And obviously your phone to take pictures so you can look back at that. But have that stuff and write out everything that's in there and measure it out, because every little inch can make a difference.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, absolutely.
So that is space and what to think about when you're moving spaces or you're looking to expand your business from where your space is currently, if that's in your own home or commercial space. So let's talk about equipment upgrades and maybe the essential things that you need. Do you want to go to automatic watering? Do you want to go to automatic tray filling machine? Do you want to go to an automatic harvester? Watering systems, obviously, is probably the thing that everybody would want to go to, because that's the thing that takes the most. And what does it make sense for you to go there? How many racks do you need to have to get there to be able to do an automatic watering? I feel like we're there now, since it's just the 2 of us, and we are in that process of getting the trays that fit the racks to move to automatic watering. Obviously, we're in our 4th year of business now. Now it's time to start doing that as we're growing, and it's only 2.25 of us working this business. That's going to take an hour to hour and a half a day off the schedule. On Saturdays, we may not need to come in if automatic watering is working. So that can maybe help out, unless we have a farmer's market or something. So what kind of things are you looking for in the future of doing automated with equipment, Andy?
Probably the first thing for us would be to get a commercial dishwasher. Even though it's not really automated, it certainly will save a whole lot of time. In the long run, we'd love to get like a microgreens harvester of some kind, not the one with all the strings, that fly around, but an actual like legit, you
Yeah.
know, fed, system or whatever that goes in and
Mhm.
actually does the harvesting. Because we don't want to spend a huge amount of time cleaning off all those little ropes or whatever that go flying
Yep.
around. So it's just a little bit cleaner. And then we've looked at automated soil machines and things like that. They're not terrible. Cost wise, they're pretty decent, but it's still, for the amount of time it takes to actually fill a tray, it's not really, we haven't gotten to the point where I feel like we're ready to move that direction
Yeah.
just yet. I don't know that we'll ever automate watering. I've thought about it, but just the cost for the actual flood and drain trays is so insane. If there's a cheaper solution out there, we just got to look into it. But at some point, we'll probably mess around with it. But for right now, it makes it tough. obviously when you've got arugula, amaranth, bull's blood, peas, things that are widely different in what they need for
Yep.
water. That's what makes it hard. Unless you're going to set up an individual tray and that's all that ever has in it is amaranth, and this one only ever has peas, and you're making sure it's flooding it with the correct amount of water. But it can certainly be interesting to try and get that dialed in really, really well. That's mainly why we haven't dove into it yet, is because of that and just the overall cost. I mean, it would be probably $25,000 at least just to get the trays and the equipment. That's not even including the actual process of testing it and going through weeks and weeks and weeks of playing around with it. That's why we haven't bothered yet, but it would be cool at some point. But I mean, ultimately we can water the whole farm in less than an hour, 45 minutes to an hour for the most part. So it's not too bad. Or as I like to refer to it, about three tool songs.
Yeah, we're getting that's funny. That's tool songs. We're getting some of the trays. We're getting 40 trays at $25 a piece. We found a really good deal on them. So that's the reason why we're
Yeah, you
looking
sure
at it.
did.
So we're obviously the lettuce for when it's germinating. Since we're doing big lettuce, we're trying to get that in an automated system. Doing the herbs and basils, we're trying to get that. We'll do that in an automated system. Obviously, the flowers are already even automated watering. The lettuce that's growing, not germinating, is already in automated watering. So things like that are going, and then we'll start with peas and sunflowers and radishes, things that are hardy and can take it and everything else. And then down the road, after we test and trial, like Andy was saying, always test and trial arugula. And see if it works out. If it doesn't, then that's just something you stay and you hand water. You just don't move it to that.
Yeah.
You grow an extra 4 trays so you can put in that whole system that you don't need that week. And you test it and make sure it's going to work, because you don't want all your arugula to get overwatered and it dies off on you. And now you ain't got no arugula to sell. That's not a good thing. I've been there, not from automatic water and just from bad seeds from True Leaf. Now I got Green Harvest seeds. I don't have a problem. I'm getting 10 plus ounces out of them. So we want to keep doing that. So definitely the harvest machine that you talked about, not the green harvester that everybody uses. I don't want that thing. But the actual full machine that, it's got the big conveyor belt that you can push it through it and it's harvesting them all. That's one of the things we're looking at a grant for right now. If we get that, obviously, if we get that grant, we'll definitely get that machine, which will save me a ton of hours on Mondays, our big harvest day. We're spending 18 hours combined with 2 people. So that's 36 hours in one day that we're harvesting. So if we could cut that down, that'd be amazing. So that'd be after the watering things, just because we got them so cheap, that would be something I'd look at. But that machine is very expensive. But if the government money could pay for it, I'll take it. Get some of our tax dollars back.
I think they're about $25,000 if I'm not mistaken, roughly.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a base model. So it's not a
25
cheap
to
thing.
30, 25 to 30,000. But but there's some good grant money out there. I ain't going to tell you guys what it is right now because I want to get it first. So, but when you're thinking about all this stuff, like we were just talking about a little bit here, you got to think about your return on investment. How much is it going to cost you? How much is it going to save you in labor? How long does it take you to get that money back? And when you're talking about machinery, are you going to get that money back before that machine dies or it needs repairs? And you got to put more money into it because it's a machine. It's going to die and thing. I think we talked about this in the past, Andy, on that soil filling machine of how much it would cost to get it back and everything else. So definitely.
And really your best way to calculate that is just man hours. How many man hours is it going to save you per week? If you were to pay somebody minimum wage or whatever, how much money is it actually going to save you? Where a harvesting machine, I mean, let's say you spent $30,000 on it on the worst case scenario. It's saving you 36 hours a week at minimum, right off the bat, right away. So, I mean, it's going to pay for itself pretty fast when you're doing the volume that you're doing. But obviously if you've only got, 1 rack, 2 racks, something like that, it's going to take you years and years and years, to make up the money for something like that. So you really want to be at a point where it's like, okay, I've maxed out my ability to do all of this in one day. Now's the time, but it's very dependent on how big your farm is. And it's just a decision you'll realize eventually that you have to make one way or the other, whoever you are, whatever size you are, you'll get there. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yes. Hopefully we're all getting there. So in the financial options that you can go to get this machine, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Obviously, first thing you want to look at is your own money. If you don't have that, then grant money would be number 2, in my opinion, to go get. And then you're looking at financing after that, going to the bank, going to a third-party institution, whatever, to get that financing. And then you got to equate that into your equation too, because now that's going to cost you more money because you got the financial charges that's going to be on there, or your interest charges are going to be on there. So definitely got to take all that into equation when you're buying new equipment. Even when you're buying trays, how many can you afford to get? Is it going to make sense? You're going to get your money back on them. If you get good quality trays like Bootstrap,
Yep.
they're going to make you money. They're cheap for how long they last, or you can go cheap and keep buying. So, got to make that decision in your equipment.
Yeah. I mean, bootstrap trays, I always say cry once, buy once, cry once. But they pay for themselves after the first grow. Let's say you buy a bottom tray and a top tray, you're out maybe $8, something like that. I mean, your very first planting is going to make that money back. And then every planting after that is free, quote unquote, as far as what the tray is going to cost you. So that's the kind of thing you want to put your money in intelligently, to where it's something that's going to last you for years and years and years. I mean, I can't even imagine how much money we've made off of each individual bootstrap tray that we've had for 4 years now. It's just insane to think. So yeah, buy good trays. Don't waste your money. I mean, believe me, we did the same thing. We started out and bought garbagey Amazon trays that were really flimsy, and we broke a bunch of them. And I was like, all right, screw this. It's time for some real trays. Yeah, it's the only way to go, man.
Yeah, it's the only way to go. Good quality trays. It's not Bootstrap. We obviously have a link in here, but there's a few others out there, but there's not many that are going to be good and strong and sturdy like a Bootstrap tray is going to be. So that's where I recommend going first. And I know Andy does as well. So get quality equipment. For sure.
The only thing I wish they did better was their blackout lids. That's the only thing I wish they made a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
everything
they're
else
a little
I absolutely
flimsy.
love from those guys.
But I've had probably 6 months. I haven't had any of them the blackout domes break or anything. So I just can't stack anything on top of them. You're not stacking. That's for sure.
No.
For sure. It's a top and that's it. So it would be nice if they made like a 3-inch one where you could just stack on. You could get like 3 trays on top, kind of thing. It would be nice.
That'd be cool.
But
someday,
if you're listening, Bootstrap, that'd be great.
That would be actually really cool.
Save you some space, as we all know.
Yeah, for real.
Key.
Yeah, well, especially with how you and I do arugula. It'd be really nice to be able to stack 3 trays on top of each other and have it all in one shelf instead of 3 separate spaces being taken up. So cool.
You can just leave it on a germination rack for that days and then move it over. Kind of thing. You wouldn't have to worry about it.
True.
Yeah,
it's a good idea. Nice. Hopefully they're listening.
somebody, if click up with Bootstrap, let them know. All right. Financial information's obviously, everything you spend, you gotta be a cost analysis. You gotta do that when you're expanding, even for your racks or anything like that. You gotta do that. You gotta plan out how much you're gonna spend and what you're gonna spend. I've always said we spent $500 to start this business. I've never put another dime of my own money into the business. It's all been return of stuff. Now we took 6 months of not taking a dime from the business either. We turned everything back into the business. And then we started taking a little bit of money. Then we started taking a little bit more. And so we got really where we could be able to just take money completely and just do this fully. So it doesn't take a big investment to get this business started. Now you can start with more and get a few more racks, get the right racks, get all that stuff, everything else. But it doesn't take a lot if you just are willing not to take any money from the business and put that in there. And I know Andy's pretty much done this probably on a larger scale than what we've done of turning the money back into the business.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it as best we can. I mean, there's definitely points where we've had to put extra money back in, especially when we moved into the space that we're in now, where there was a large expense up front. And we were only 6 racks in at that point when we decided to make that move, because we saw the growth was moving in a good direction. But it was because we made that choice. We didn't have to. We certainly could have stayed in our house for a little bit longer and, maybe had some racks on the top floor, racks on the bottom floor, and it would have been a total nightmare. But we knew what direction this was going. We saw the growth we were getting, so we decided to kind of pull the trigger on it and see how it went. But yeah, best bet as far as you can go, try and keep your own money in it. Once you get banks involved, then you've got interest involved, and you've got potentially people walking in and saying, oh, you didn't make 5 payments or whatever, we're going to come and take all your equipment, and then you're completely screwed. So, your best bet as best you can, is try and fund it yourself. Or, there's a lot of grant options out there, and that's the kind of stuff you need to look for. I mean, and it's not just the big, like $100,000 $1,000+ grants. I mean, there's $5,000 grants, $2,000 grants, all kinds of stuff out there that are way easier to win.
Yeah.
It takes time. Obviously, you got to fill out the applications. But we've won a $5,000 grant 3 years in a row. They actually upped it to $10,000 this year. So we're going to be applying
Nice.
for that here pretty soon. And that's a local grant, only available in my county and the county below me. And that's it.
Nice.
And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of farms, but they seem to fund it pretty well. So, look around, and your Department of Ag people can help you find those grant opportunities, get on their list. They mostly know about them. They'll send you emails and tell you about them. Finding the more national ones are a little bit more challenging. You got to kind of proactively seek those, but it's definitely worth looking into, because it's just free money. I mean, you've put money into taxes your whole entire life, so why not get back, some from the government and help fund your actual projects? So, and then that way you're not spending any money out of pocket. So yeah, definitely look into grants if you can, for sure. And there's a lot of stuff available for like women-owned businesses, any kind of minority-owned business. If you're a minority, then it's an easy way to win. I mean, you've got a lot better chances of actually getting grants. So definitely don't hesitate to apply. I mean, worst case, you don't win it, but you learn something from that experience just by going through the application process, getting all your information together. And the nice thing is, oftentimes you can just take that data and just copy and paste it into the next grant application,
Yeah.
once you feel good about it. So it's really not too bad overall. But yeah, it's a great way to help fund your projects.
Yeah. We at one point said we were going to do this business completely with no financial stuff, grants, loans, anything else. I'm still sticking to the loan thing. I'm not doing that. But the grant money that's out there right now is just too attractive, and a lot of it.
Yeah.
And if we get this big grant, like this is like $150,000 potential grant that we're looking at, would totally change the direction of our business. We can get all the equipment we need to fill this place. We can get all the automated equipment and everything else. So there are good grants out there, and this one is, geared towards, women-owned businesses, which this business is women-owned. Farmers under 10 years. So if you're a new farmer, it's under 10 years. So I would think most of us probably qualify for that, if not all of us that's on this call or on this talk at all. So that helps you as well. So there's many of them things you can stack up. I think there's like 10 of them that qualifies that. If you can stack up all of them, you're probably guaranteed to get that grant from them. But like Andy said, go after the $5,000 and $10,000. If somebody's going to come up and hand you $5,000, you fill out a little bit of paperwork for that. So go out and do it.
Yeah.
And most people forget about it.
Definitely worth your time.
I'm sure there's probably only a handful of people that probably qualify or even went for the loan that you were trying, or the grant you were trying to get. So it makes it a lot easier to get the smaller ones.
Yep. Only downside is this year they put in the paperwork that if you've won in the past, you'll be less considered. And I'm like, come on, man.
Come on. I still need
the
the
year
money.
when they finally double the amount that they're giving out is the year that I have less of a chance of winning.
Of course. Yeah, and some of them grants, I know there's a lot of a lot of organizations out there. They get the same grant every year. They reapply for that grant, and some of these organizations are getting $75,000, $100,000 grants every year into their business.
Yep.
Now you have to spend it right. Most of them you can't spend on yourself. You can't give yourself labor dollars and just pay yourself. You can't do that, but you can divert money, and pay yourself with other money, or whatever, So you just got to do it right. But grants are a good way to go. We're getting into them. We got to get this grant done in the next 10 days. So this big one. So if you're out there, I think it is a federal grant, but it was a federal grant that distributed money to the states. So there was like $7 million to each state or something like that they were giving out, and then up to $150,000 per participant. So there's a lot of money out there. So go get it. Use the money. So. All right. Return on investments. I think we covered that already pretty well on, doing your return on investment and making sure you get that set up and everything else. So, Andy, you got anything else?
The only other thing I would add, and we didn't really touch on this when we were talking about, getting into a new space, whether it's in your house, whether it's external, in a commercial space where you're building something on your property. I mean, kind of the key things to look for, when you're looking to actually move into a new space. Number one is HVAC. You got to have some kind of climate control, without a doubt. You have to be able to control that climate all year long, in the coldest of the coldest months and the hottest of the hottest months. You got to be able to keep it 70 to 75 degrees in there roughly as best you can. So that's definitely a key thing. If you plan on watering your plants or doing any kind of dishes in there, or having a dehumidifier in there, which is obviously pretty recommended, You're gonna preferably want a floor drain unless you want to empty out the bucket in that dehumidifier like 10 times a day. Try and get a floor drain if you can. Then you can tie a sink into that. You can tie a dehumidifier into that, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously you need water. If you don't have water ran to whatever building it is, then you're not going to be able to do much because you have to be able to water your plants. Unless you want to carry a 5-gallon bucket back and forth 100 times, to water everything. It's just not worth it. So those are kind of some of the key things. I would say HVAC is probably number one.
Yeah.
Having water is definitely number two. And then number three would be if you can find a place with a floor drain, awesome. Because I'm spending money to put one in. I had to do it in the previous space that I'm in now and the new space I'm going into. So, and once a plumber pulls a jackhammer out of his vehicle, you're already at over $1,000 at least. Yeah, just to get it off the truck, he's probably charging you $250.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind as you're going through that process. It's not fun. It's not a cheap thing to have done, but I would say those are probably my top three key things for moving into a new space. You have any thoughts on that? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I totally agree with the big thing probably is the HVAC system. Definitely having that. The floor drains you can build in, everything else. But if you're getting a commercial space and trying to get an HVAC put up on top, talk about $1,000 to get something off of a truck. If they're coming out with a big crane, it's going to be thousands of dollars to pull that baby up off that crane, off that trailer, and put it on the building, and then making sure the building has the structural ability to put something up like that and everything else. You got to probably get engineers involved and everything else. So get a building that already has one. It's huge.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to look for that. Like we took 6 months to find this place when we started trying to decide. So it takes time. I know Andy looked for his place for months as well. Maybe a year. I don't know. How long were you looking, Andy?
Yeah. We started looking soon after we moved into the space we're in now, knowing that it was going to take that long.
Years.
And so, I mean, our 2-year lease expires on March 1st. So it's been almost 2 years since we started finding the space that we're in now. And I mean, there's not much to choose from. That's what makes it tough. And I would add a fourth option. So you've got your HVAC, your floor drain, and your, just totally fell out of my head. Well, you guys remember what it was.
Plumbing.
The fourth one I would say
Water.
is plumbing. The fourth one is to have electric. Because I know you're like, oh, electric, everybody has electric, but it has to be enough to support what you plan on doing with that space. I mean, for example, like in the space we're in now, it's 400 amp service that's in the building already, but there's 2 electric HVAC systems that are chewing up a lot of that power. So even though we have 400 amps, which sounds great, we actually have to upgrade it to 800 amps in order to actually be able to cover if we fill out the whole entire space over the entire time we're in there, to add all these new dedicated circuits. So, that's a costly thing to have done, to have that put in. I think it's going to be about $11,000 just to have those extra, because they have to get in contact with the electric company. They have to run, wire about this big around, from the pole to the thing, which that wire is like probably, $50 a foot or something. It's all said and done. So yeah, it can get very expensive, but yeah, electric is big thing too, just to think about way down the line, what can I set up? And you can get about 8 racks on a 20 amp dedicated circuit. So if you think of it from that aspect, whatever you have, if you plan on putting 40 racks in there, you're going to need 5 dedicated circuits. Just keep that in mind. So just make sure you have that availability on your electric too.
Yes. Most commercial space comes with a lot. Like Andy said, think about what the air conditioner is going to eat up, the HVAC system is going to eat up, when that's running and everything else. So it goes fast. You think you got a ton, but it goes fast. But yeah, them 4 things are definitely the things you're going to want to look at. Electric and HVAC is probably, I would say 1, 2, just because it's hard to get at HVAC and expensive. So if it's the electric, if it's already there, and HVAC is going to be expensive to put it in. The water, the floor drains, stuff like that, it's expensive, but it's nowhere near where you're going to pay for that stuff. So if they have them 2, you
100%.
could, if they have them 2, you can kind of look at moving in there and then make a determination if you're going to do that. But start looking now, even if you don't think you're going to move into a space. Realtors they'll show you places for free. They don't charge anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to commit to anything. Don't charge anything. We were looking for 6 months with a realtor, and it took that long. But she eventually found a place for us, and it was the right one and everything else. So, but it's free. Go look, even if you don't think so.
Yep.
Go look. Start dreaming. When you started looking for a house, you probably started dreaming way before you thought you were going to move in a house. So, same thing. Go dream. Dreams is what set us apart from other species. So,
and if you find a good real estate, person to find these places for you, tell them everything you need.
Yeah.
Because if you just say, I need 5,000 square feet, they're going to show you a thousand warehouses that have no HVAC, no plumbing, barely any electric,
Yeah.
60-foot ceilings. So don't go in with that, mindset. Go in and just say, I need to have HVAC, I need to have plumbing, preferably a floor drain. It's not the end of the world if I don't. It's got to have at least 400 amps of service, which most places probably will when it comes to commercial. And then say, I don't need ceilings that are 40 feet high. I need them like 10 to 14 at the most. Preferably even shorter, because obviously the higher it is, you're heating and air conditioning that space,
Yep.
which costs you a fortune. So, just some things to think about. But even if you're building like an external building on the side of your yard, I mean, don't build it. It'd be crazy tall to get an RV in there or something. You only need it to be 8-foot ceilings at the most,
Yeah.
if you can help it, because you don't need height unless you plan on climbing a ladder to water all your microgreens every single day. Just take advantage of that. But that's the things you can tell a real estate person, that
Yes.
they can actually go, with that in mind, looking for space for you. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind.
Yep. Definitely agree with all that. Give them the list ahead of time. Don't frustrate them and say, yeah, just any warehouse to do. And then you're like, no, this
Yeah.
doesn't have this. Then they're gonna be like, why did I look for all this for you? Don't bother me again. Go to somebody else. Especially if you get an experienced real estate agent dealing with a lot of people, they're not going to want to deal with you if you're not giving them a lot of information up front. So good information, Andy. Very good. Awesome, guys. We definitely covered everything we wanted to cover today. In the next episode, we are going to briefly introduce and focus on doing legal and regulation considerations, which I know doesn't sound like fun, but it is things that we need to go over and you need to know before you start doing things as a business, not necessarily just a microgreen grower, but as a business tailored more to the microgreens. So my producer's not on key here. So I want to thank all our harvest members for everybody who's been here, especially Mark, who's been here for 6 months as a harvest member. And we thank all of our harvest members for being there, and all our members in general and everything else. And if you are a member that is germination and above, or growing and above, you get all the videos that we release first before anybody else. And there's quite a few of them out there right now for you guys. So again, we thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. And on to the Q&A. All right. If you got any questions you haven't yet, go ahead and put them in. It looks like we got 11 questions start or so here. So we'll go through this question. If you got any, do that. And then at the end, we will do a live giveaway where you could win 3 months of Farm Flow, 6 months of Farm Flow. You could win some Thumbcast swag. You could win coaching call from me, coaching call from Andy. A lot of great things in there. So make sure you get in that hashtag Thumbcast. And we'd like to give something away to you guys today. So, and we get into Q&A. And the timer is dinged. Here we go.
I always forget that's going to happen.
It's the fun part.
And remember, if you're on Facebook, guys, make sure you go to facebook.com/StreamYard.
StreamYard.com/Facebook.
There we go. That one. That one. And let them know that Facebook, it's okay for StreamYard to use your name. There's a Facebook user that just used Thumbcast. I'm not sure who that is.
Aaron.
Make sure you go over to that and get that done, or otherwise you cannot win.
Yes. All right. We did have some really good questions and stuff coming up. John Claus asked, looking at triple sinks, they make it hard to know the actual dimensions online. Most of the sinks aren't big enough to dip a tray, either too short or too shallow. So inner dimensions is what you need, right?
Yes, inner dimensions. That's what you want to look for.
Yeah, you definitely want inner dimensions. The one that we have is huge. It's 12 feet long. It's just massive. And I think it might be, I posted a link to a supply list that I have on our website in the chat. And the sink that we have, I believe, is actually on that list.
Okay.
I'm trying to find that for sure right now, but I'm almost positive we have that linked. Yeah, we do. So if you go to that link and then go under sanitation and environmental, all the way at the bottom, there's triple sinks and accessories. And that'll give you the exact one that we actually have. And it's not affiliate linked or anything. It just goes right to the restaurant store. We bought ours. It's huge. But the nice thing is it's 2 feet by 2 feet. So you can get two sets of trays like this, two sets of trays like this. And, it's pretty deep. I would say it's probably at least 2.5 feet deep. So when we go to soak, we put 20 gallons of water in there. We can get probably 75 trays or so. I've never counted them
Nice.
actually, but it's a
Awesome.
lot, that we can get
That's a
soaked
lot.
into that really deep. Yeah, it's a lot. So it can save you a lot of time. Even when we go to actually start washing, we just dump a bunch in, to the soapy water and just let them sit for 10 minutes or so before we get started. And then it kind of like lets them soak, which makes washing them a whole lot easier. So just some things to think about. So yeah, it's worth getting a bigger sink. It's just, it takes up a whole lot of room because I think literally ours is 12 feet long. It's huge, but it's awesome.
Yeah, ours isn't quite that big, but you can fit trays down this way. And
Yeah, it's
I think
22 inches in
I think I could fit
depth.
15 to 20 trays. I haven't done dishes in a while because I have my kid who's an employee here that does them now. But when you're soaking them, you can put 15 to 20 trays in there going down this way. So it's not too bad. But yeah, the inner dimensions is what you're going to look for. Obviously, ours was already here when we rented the place here, when we leased this place. We just got lucky that they would fit like that it was already here. So we didn't get as big a one as Andy because why put one in? Because it's already here.
Yeah.
And even the 3-compartment that we had at the garage was just a little too small to fit.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to go in at an angle.
They were, yeah.
But
Oh
was
no.
Yeah.
a used sink for like $200. So I can't complain too much.
You deal with what you got to deal with to make it happen sometimes.
Yes.
Yep. That's it. I mean, you can get real small sinks that you can just put the trays only in like that if you have to, and then
If you
flip
have
them over
to.
and let them soak on the other side.
And really, you don't have to soak them. You just get a scrubber, get the soap in there, scrub them, rinse them off with a sprayer. You can do it without putting them all the way in the sink too. So if that's what you got, use what you got.
Yeah. I mean, when we first started, we had our little tiny sink in our kitchen. I mean, it's real small.
Yep.
And we had to soak our trays in a large plastic bin on the floor in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So we came up with really creative ways to get the water from the sink into the bin.
And then figure out how to dump the
like,
bin when it's full.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other problem. We basically would take this like a big bucket or whatever, and just keep siphoning it out back into the sink like you were emptying a boat that you were in sinking.
Wow.
It was bad. So I don't.
I got
miss
some
those
stories
days.
about a kitchen sink. When we first started, like the room was over here, the dining room, the kitchen's next to it. So we didn't have water to go to it. And I got tired of doing buckets and dipping water. So I would take every tray to the sink that had the hand sprayer and I'd water all the trays, lift them up, spray them, take them back.
Oh no.
All the time. We got a hose figured out in the room really fast.
Yeah, I bet you did.
That was an awful time.
But that was the beginning. That was, we were
Wow.
taking all the trays to the sink to water them, to clean them, all that stuff. So yeah, we've been there.
Wow.
So,
yeah. And like we talked about earlier in the episode, this is the kind of stuff you want to look back on.
Yeah.
And go, wow, look at, we used to do it this way, and now we're in a 3,500 square foot space or whatever, working with a triple sink. It's cool.
And a dishwasher.
Yeah, true. That's definitely a nice plus.
Yes. It just makes sure the trays get really clean and sanitized properly and everything. You ain't gotta think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Grunk McGrunk.
Grunk McGrunk. I like it.
I like it. Do you have a rough guide of a workspace to grow space ratio?
Most of your space
Wow.
probably would be taken up by grow space, to be honest. So
Yeah.
if I was thinking that ratio, I would do, if you harvest and plant on the same space, same table, because you just clean it, I would probably say somewhere around a 70% for growing, 30% for everything else. Andy, what do you think?
I would say that's about right. By the time you add in, I mean, like workspace is going to be smaller than 30%, but you've also got storage.
Yeah.
You've got your soil that you have to put somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
All those additional things. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never thought about it like that before. That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm
some
saying
math.
70% for growing.
Yeah. I would say probably 70 to 80% roughly,
Yeah.
I would think, by the time you take everything into account. So yeah, that's a good question.
That is a very good question.
Yeah. Got you guys thinking.
Yeah. I'm literally doing math in the background here, trying to figure out exactly what we're doing right now.
mine's a little different right now because we got a lot of extra space that we're trying to grow into being in this space. I know Andy's kind of tapped out. She's why he's moving. But right now we kind of, it's not that ratio because we just got more space.
Yeah.
But eventually we'll fill it up.
Christina says, I have mold during germination on my cilantro. Maybe the seeds?
Soil, maybe. It's where you get your seeds from. Because I haven't had any problem with True Leaf and our Greener Harvest split cilantro seeds. Haven't had any problems with them. It could be a soil issue, or it could be getting too hot during germination. How long you're leaving in germination? How many trays are you stacking together? Because the more trays you stack together, the more heat you're creating within there. So we try to only stack our cilantro 2 or 3 high. We never go 6 high with cilantro just because it creates too much heat in it. So that would be my kind of pointers. Andy, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're burying the seed or not, too. That's another thing to consider because most people will bury the seed. That'll typically kind of solve some of your mold issues because it doesn't really have a chance to develop because all the stuff is kind of contained in between 2 layers of dirt. So I think if you either give us more information in the comments or just give us more information in my microgreen group, which I know you're in, just post stuff in there and, we can certainly help you walk through that with your process.
Yeah. Yeah, we cover all of our cilantro, which I didn't probably mention is vermiculite, the fine vermiculite over top of all the cilantro. So, which I think probably helps that situation as well.
Yeah.
Plus better growth.
Another thought-provoking one for you guys.
Oh, boy.
John Claus says he saw a video about the benefits of hemp microgreens. Pretty interesting. I actually read stuff about them, too.
I thought everybody said that the hemp micro, it wasn't good as a micro, but I could be wrong.
It tastes awful, but it's really good for you.
Okay.
it's not, ultra concentrated.
It's not my forte. I don't know much about hemp, so I couldn't go too much into that. But yeah, try it.
Yeah. If you can find seeds, hemp seeds are hard to find now just because there are so many hemp growers.
Oh, God.
Now.
There's a grow shop everywhere or a place to buy it everywhere now. So.
Yeah. Isaac, I've been thinking a lot about a process line for seeding. I figure there are like 7 main steps from dirt, seeding, and spraying. How do you guys do a ton of trays when seeding? Have you ever seen our lives?
Yeah, we do lives every once in a while on Instagram where we seed everything else and you can see that process. I'm not sure if you can go back and watch them. But we'll maybe try to do one next time we plant, which is the big planting's on Friday. This week was crazy, so we couldn't do it. No. But maybe we'll do it on Friday and show you guys and you can watch that. To be on my Instagram, Microgreen Business Coaching. We do it on there and show you how we do it with 2 people, with filling trays, planting, putting germination, the whole process. So
perfect.
We get 300 trays near 250 trays done in like 3 hours. So
it's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, main thing we do is we just measure seed out ahead of time, lay out as many trays as you can in the space you have, get plastic tables if you have to put out as many as you can. Cause what you want to try and do is do whatever process you're doing, do it from start to finish as often as you can.
Yes.
It's just way more efficient to work that way. So the more trays you can see out in front of you, the more faster you can fill them all with soil, the faster you can spread them all if you have to. And you can also seed a whole bunch of them all at once. And if your seed's already pre-measured, you save that time on planting day as well. But yeah, I mean, I've posted videos I know in my group before of just kind of like quick behind the scenes stuff of me planting. I don't know how hard it'll be to find, but if I think about it, Isaac, I'll try and find it in that group and I'll tag you. I think you're in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I've seen them. Yep. We do 22 trays at a time. So, we're doing 10 to 12 rounds, 15 rounds or so of that. So it's a pretty good process. We developed it obviously over time, from planting on a 6-foot table to now a big old table where we can fit 22 trays on it and do it all at one time. So we went the whole gamut.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Isaac, I don't see you. I don't think you're actually in my Facebook group. I did post a link in the chat, so you can join it from there, and I'll try and find that and tag you. We also had another Facebook user. Yep, there it is. You show up as Facebook user, you need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook.
So that was Justin Alexander Qualls. So Justin, if you could hop on the streamyard.com/Facebook, we could be able to see your name and put you in the giveaway.
Yep. And when you do that, go ahead and when you get that done, go ahead and put a hashtag Thumbcast back in, so that way we can register you into the giveaway.
Yes.
Yep.
You got 18 minutes.
All right. Let's see. What's another good one?
Or until the questions run out.
Where do you research these grants? I posted it in the chat as well. But grants.gov is a huge database of all of the federal level grants. But definitely talk to your local Farm Bureau, Department of Agriculture on a state level, Department of Agriculture on a federal level.
NCRS.
NCRS, which is the Natural Resources something. Yeah, it's an acronym. It's government.
NRCS.
NRCS. Yeah. But they're really great if they can get through the legal red tape. They're full of it. If they can get through it, they're great. But the
NRCS ones also usually take about a year to 2 years to get qualified, get them for. So start now.
Yeah. So they go on like a point system, and they put you in a system, and your point value gets graded, and it's a whole mess. But if you can get a grant through them, it is really great, and it's continual, and they usually don't require any kind of match. So things like that, but definitely a lot of really great resources. Just ask around. A lot of places, you just ask and they're like, oh yeah, I heard about this grant. But definitely ask around your local ag people for sure.
Yeah. Get connected.
Aspen, how many racks plus all related growing and environmental equipment can you support with an 800 amp capacity?
Ooh. A lot. A lot. I mean, we can, if all goes well, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around 150 to 160 racks that we'd be able to get in that space. So when you do the math, combining that with the 2 HVAC units, we'd have to have, dedicated circuits for refrigerators, things like that, for storing the greens temporarily. So we have to factor those kinds of things in as well. So it's more than we need. The problem is 600 amps isn't enough. So I have no choice but to go another 200 to make sure we've got enough space. And the cost difference between having, 600 versus 800 added was slim enough to where it wasn't worth taking the chance. So that's why we're going that route. But yeah, you can get a lot. You can get way more than what we are going to be getting. I would say probably 200 racks roughly would fit on an 800 amp setup. If it was dedicated 800 amps, it's going to be a problem. That's just rough guesstimation. I'm not an electrician, but just based on what we know, that's probably a rough guesstimation. But you're best off to talk to an electrician.
A lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, that's 4 times what an average whole house has, just for reference. Usually an entire house runs on 200 amps and you've got plenty of available space all the time, 24/7. This is dedicated electric that's on, for 12 to 16 hours a day, every single light you've got in the entire place, so we got to make sure it's strong enough to handle that.
Yeah. John Claus says he needs to add an extra circuit to the garage. Good stuff.
Yep. It's good problem.
Electric in this business is always going to be the issue. Especially when you're in your house. You're definitely going to have to find creative ways sometimes to get electric to be able to run enough stuff. So, pay an electrician and add more.
Yep. John Claus asks, Mike and Jess, how high are your ceilings in the grow area?
14 feet.
Yep. A little bit taller than most ceilings, but not too bad, actually.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
There's like a massive amount of insulation above there, though.
Yes.
Like the poor cable guy trying to install the internet was very upset.
Yeah. So they're well insulated. So
that's good.
Yes. Aspen, my cilantro is ready to harvest, but to my surprise, it has an undergrowth of leaves that are not fully green. They are yellow. Do you have any suggestions?
That sounds like overseeding.
Yes.
You've got too much seed. Typically when you run into where you've got little short guys that literally couldn't make it to the light, it's because you have too much seed on your tray. They just don't have a chance. There's not enough sunlight coming in. It's too dense where they're shading each other out and you end up with that undergrowth. So yeah, that's probably all it is. I'd say cut back your seed probably by at least 4 grams on your next run and see how it goes. I'd say go down 2, but if you're seeing it everywhere, you probably want to go down 4 and try it again. at
Agreed.
least. You may
Agreed.
find it needs to be more than that.
Don't know how much you're seating at, but yeah, definitely go down.
Yeah.
All right.
Because that can be a giant pain in the butt, especially when those actually die. And then you've got those little stringy, pieces of cilantro you're pulling
Yeah,
out of
that's
every
fun.
single. It's awful.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah.
that takes you 3 times as long to harvest now.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Yep.
All right. Josh Pepper. When trying to get into grocery stores, should we just stick to family owned? I approached one store and was told the persons who make the purchasing decision can't be contacted directly. Advice?
That's weird. Number one, if they're making
Yeah,
purchase
that's a
decisions,
bunch
they
of
should be able to
BS.
get a hold of them.
Yeah.
That was somebody just telling you go away. Basically. So we only family owned one we have is one. All the rest of them are 300 to 500, regional grocery stores. Now we don't have the big ones like a Schnucks, the Deerbergs, a Kroger's or anything like that. But the Hy-Vees, stuff like that, we have. So no, you don't need to stick to the one person one. Obviously, they're going to be easier to get into. Mom and pops will be definitely a lot easier to get into because you know who you're going to talk to. But you definitely can go after the other ones. The first one was ours was a 300 to 500 regional one, first grocery store we got into. So our second one, I'm sorry, first one was the mom and pop. So the second one was that one. So yeah, I would say go after all of them. But find somebody who's going to give you true information. That person's just trying to tell you to go away. I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah, and a different approach may be to not go in and say you're a microgreen farmer. Just go in and say you're a local farmer and leave it at that. They'll probably allow you then to get to that next step.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even have to go to the store. If you find out that the produce manager is not your decision maker and they have kind of like a regional, decision maker, you can usually get that number of that person and that name of that person just by calling the store, talking to either the store manager or the produce manager, and they can usually say, hey, yeah, you need to talk to this guy. Here's his number, and you give him a call and then go from there. At least it'll get you past that initial phase. I mean, the grocery store that we just recently got into, the store owner wanted nothing to do with us, and the produce manager loved everything we had. So when we went in and met this produce manager, he was all about it. And then when I went back the following week to give the produce manager some samples, the store manager was the guy that saw me. And as soon as he turned the corner and he caught my eyes, he's like, you could see him roll his eyes from like 5 layers down. I was like, come on, man. So I knew right away that it was going to be a worthless encounter. So I gave him the samples, and then I followed up with the produce manager to make sure that he gave him the samples because I was worried he was probably just going to throw them away. Like, I don't even want these stupid things.
Yeah.
But now they're selling 80 packs a week,
Yeah.
consistently. So, I mean, it's stupid. So yeah, that's the hard part is oftentimes you're going to walk into a grocery store sometimes and they're going to have no clue what microgreens are, or they're just going to assume that people aren't going to want to buy them. And sometimes that takes you, starting at those smaller grocery stores and say, well, I'm already in XYZ grocery store and I'm selling 40 packs a week, and I'm in this other one and I'm selling 40 packs a week over there too. This is easy money for you guys, So yeah, just some things to kind of think about to work around that crappy situation. But good luck, man. That's annoying.
Yeah, move on, go to the next one, and revisit them when you're bigger and they're begging you to go in because they're the only ones that don't have them.
Yeah.
And they all go to each other's stores, guys. They're just like restaurant managers. They go and scout out what's going on at other grocery stores. You will see a produce manager, a manager from another store walk with a clipboard. If you see somebody with a clipboard in there, they're checking prices from the other grocery stores, checking to see what they have. So if you get into other stores, they're going to see your stuff and then they're going to want it.
Yep. Easy peasy.
Pat Dale, both T5 and T8 lights are listed with links. Do you use both? Does one type work better for certain crops than the other?
So it's, I think you're talking about the list on, I think you're talking about the list on my website that I posted. So it's T5s, you're going to end up with 2 or 3 per shelf. 2 is fine. The benefits of T5s, you can space the shelves a little bit closer. So we run about 9 inches between the bottom of this shelf and the top of this shelf. With T8s, you're usually going to be 10 to 12 inches, I think, where you guys are roughly. So you end up not being able to put as many shelves of of actual trays on your rack. That's the only downside. T8s, obviously, you only had to buy one light, so which is a nice advantage. But because you're going to run one T8 per shelf versus two T5s, so it's a little bit less lights you have to deal with. The downside is if one of your T8s goes out, obviously it's the only light on the whole shelf, or at least with a T5, you got a secondary just in case. But ultimately, it's completely up to you. I would suggest looking up N bar S, so Nancy bar Sam N bar S Microgreens one, I believe,
Nope,
or
no one.
Microgreens,
No one
whatever it is.
anymore. Yeah.
No one.
Yeah, on YouTube, and he's got two really, really good. It's Joe Naaman Sessions, who's in all the microgreen groups. He's got two really good videos posted out there. Jess may be able to find them and post them. I don't know, but yeah, they're really, really good, detailed videos. He goes into heavy detail as to why you can use one versus the other.
Perfect.
Yep, a great video. He's got multiple videos on it.
Yeah, and we use T5s. Mike uses T8s. So just goes to show you, doesn't matter. You just
Although
have to pick your poison and.
We are transitioning probably with doing some automatic watering for the peas and sunflowers because the trays for the watering are a little bit bigger. So we will need to use T5s to get them out. And then obviously then I can move the shelves up. The main reason why we went with T8s in the beginning is power. We didn't want to run 2 lights per shelf beginning in the house. In the commercial space, now you can start doing that because you got enough power and everything else.
Yeah.
Although they're very close on the hour outage they go, it was just a risk that we just didn't want to take, having that little bit more of power outage because we needed every bit we could get being in the house. So that's the reason why we went with one light, short, taller shelves, spacing, and everything else. So if you're in a commercial space, get more space available. Definitely T5s. Kind of the way we're going to go with the automatic watering, and obviously we need to move all our T8s to the lettuce because we were doing T5s there. It just wasn't enough light output for the lettuce with only one going down each row there. So yeah, whole other thing we can go on, but yeah, either one works. Just depends on how far you're going to want your shelves.
Yep.
Hey, when's that soil press going to be ready?
Everybody
it's
wants
waiting
it.
on me. Yeah, I know. It's so nice too, man. I can't even tell you. Yeah, it's literally, I just had to put together the design that they want to print, or not print, but I think they're gonna actually etch it on the top. It's just, it hasn't been a priority compared to a million other things I've got going on right now. I'm just trying to work my way through some of the other stuff. Just farm flow updates and trying to get into the new space and everything else. So it's been insane. But yeah, trust me, it's still on the list there, Tracy.
Hey,
hopefully the next couple months. I'm hoping. I was hoping to have it done by the end of this month, but it's not looking good.
It'll be here soon. Before you know it,
Yes.
they'll have it.
Yeah, trust me, when it's here, you guys will all know.
Let's check on that poll. And what I did is I put up a poll. I know, Andy, you can't see it. It says, are you planning to expand your space in 2024? I have 31 votes. 9% is no.
That's
91%
nice.
yes.
Awesome.
Nice. That is awesome to see.
That's good. You guys are thinking ahead. That's important,
job.
especially in this business. There's a reason why when I moved into a 2,000 square foot space, I immediately started looking for something twice that size, knowing that it was going to take me the entire 2 years to find a space and have it ready. So,
when we moved into the warehouse, we were shocked at how big it was. And then when we got everything from the garage and the house and everything in, we were like, how did we fit this much crap in our house?
Yeah.
There's so much in here.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, I could never make it back into the house with it. I don't think I would be able to make it fit again.
Yeah.
No,
Tracy's
I wouldn't want to do it.
I'm trying, Tracy.
Yes. The last guest y'all had was awesome. Cool to see how the state wants you to be successful and safe, and happy to help you get there by teaching best practices and risks. The state can seem intimidating. Yes.
Most of them are there to help. Most.
Yes.
Not all.
Yeah.
With health inspectors, any kind of
department.
Inspector,
The health department's not going to be there to help. The Department of Agriculture is there to help. And Carol, who was on last week, actually works for the University of Maryland. So she's not technically a state employee, but she works with the state very closely to make sure that the curriculum that she uses is on par with what they need. But she also knows all those people as well. She knows all the auditors, all the process, all the Department of Ag people. So it's cool to have access to somebody like her. She's amazing.
Yes. And if you guys watch that video, she has her email in there. if you haven't seen it yet. So
Yep.
you have access to her as well. You can just
Yep.
email her. So she was kind enough to give that out. So she's here to help.
For
Yep.
sure. Matt Nino says, try literally waiting outside the store and hand out free salad mix. That's what I did. Eventually, they will make time for you.
Or
I
the
love
police will make time for you.
One of the two.
You know, depends on where you stand. If you're off the property barely, you know, you can get away with it. But yeah, hey, be inventive. Do what you got to do, right? I love it.
Yep.
You got to hustle, you know, go do what you got to do within legal reasons, legal ways.
So Tracy's
Yeah.
after you now, Mike. How about that cilantro
Okay.
video?
Let's take that off of there. I lost footage. So I had to find the time to refilm the footage and then do the voiceover. And I could do it with the little bit of footage that I do have still, but it just wouldn't be perfect. And I just can't put something out that I'm not 100% happy with. So it will come eventually. I know it's been, but I just lost the footage. So I don't know where it's at. I filmed something today that I can't find either. So literally right before we came on, I was going to do an intro. So like I don't know. Google's being weird right now. So
Google doesn't like me right now.
I think I have too much stuff. I'm running out of storage. So I think maybe it's just not saving it or something. So
Yeah.
Well, it's not like your method hasn't been posted 1,000 times on my
Yeah.
Facebook group either way. So
yes.
you can go find how it's supposed to be done, short of visually seeing it.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I can't make the same excuse for my soil press because I can't digitally put it on my website, you know,
Yeah.
to allow people to download it and use it. So, so I'll get bugged
That
about
one's a
that for a
physical
lot longer
product.
than
You
your
gotta have
cilantro
that
video.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. But if anything, Tracy, maybe you got my got a fire lighted under my butt again to start getting back on that.
There we go. Did any of you have to get state certified scales for weighing product?
You don't have to. We do have one. Actually, we have two technically. We had one that we had to buy for this shop. So when we sold things that were sold by the pound,
Yeah.
you know, we had to have that. And it was a really stupidly expensive scale.
Mhm.
And then if I wish Joe was on here, Joe, there's a term for it.
Trade.
I can't remember what
Trade
it is.
approved.
Trade approved.
Yeah, yeah, you allowed for trade or trade approved,
Yep.
something like that. You can go onto Webster's website or Restaurant Store, either one, and they've got, you know, if you just look for scales, you'll find some that say, you know, used for trade or something along those lines. And those are the ones that are actually okay to use for that kind of stuff. So we do have two of them. We don't use them, but just in case somebody ever walked in the door and said, "Hey, you need to have these scales," like, "Oh, they're right here." We verify everything on all of these every time.
Yes, all the time.
How
So
often
it's not
do
a
your
bad thing to
stuff get
have.
inspected in Maryland? How often do they inspect
Uh,
yours?
I've never had anybody say that it has to be done, so I'm not
Oh.
sure.
Ours
Because we're not
are
gonna
yearly, right,
bother
Jess?
going
Every
through it.
year.
Every year.
Ours is every year
Yeah.
that we have to either
Get the
they pop
sticker.
in on you if you don't show up to them, they'll come to you whenever they darn well please
Yeah.
and just say, let's do this now. But you're supposed to take it over to them every year to renew the sticker on it.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yay!
They
State
don't-
of Illinois.
no one said a word to me about having to do it, so I'm not going to invite the government in unless I have to.
I agree.
Yeah.
So depends on where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, you can always just buy a little calibration kit and do it yourself if you're
Right.
really worried about it being accurate.
Yeah.
Josh Prepper, the produce manager gave me the district manager's number, and then the district manager told me the decision maker was 2 layers above her, and she couldn't give out their numbers.
So I guess that store never buys produce or products from anybody.
I guess.
They don't deal with small
If you
farmers.
can't get through to the decision maker, yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to put a brick wall in front of you.
If it's a large scale
Unfortunately.
like company like a Kroger's or something like that, like
Lion,
yeah,
Food
you're
Lion.
going to have
Yeah.
Yeah.
issues of getting through to them, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would always say start small. Find a
Yeah.
co-op, you know, find a natural food store or something along those lines. See if you can get some stuff in there. Work your way up the ladder, you know, to those bigger accounts. It's a whole lot easier when you get to that point because then you can say, well, we're already in X, you know, these 10 other stores. So we should, you know, it seemed to make sense for us to be in you guys because they're taking sales away from you on this product. So yeah, start
Alright.
small and work your way up.
Farmer Cheryl says, would aligning with doctors, hospitals, and medical centers be easier than the grocery stores to enter? The hospital cafeterias I've visited don't have much locally grown food or variety. Regulations, regulations,
Yeah.
regulations. They serve high risk populations.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's not something we've even looked
That'd be a
at. So
very tough.
yeah.
Yeah, very
Any
tough to get into a place like that.
any institutional, especially when they're selling and serving high risk populations, you're looking at lease gap certification. At minimum, you're looking at FSMA. You're looking at very possible, like you might have to do like a harmonized gap or something like that, because these are high risk people that they're serving the food to. They want to make sure it's 100% safe. So that's probably why you don't see much locally grown food there.
Yeah. Not to mention you're giving them an unwashed product.
Yes.
That you're either going to have to wash yourself, which involves getting additional licenses, or they're going to have to wash, and they're not going to want to deal with that because obviously they can't give an unwashed product to a high risk patient, so they're not going to take that chance.
Yeah, that's a hard one to get into there.
Matt Nino says, have you guys tried going to large businesses around your community? It's been a game changer for me. Had to add a new grow site. Must find more help.
Awesome.
Great problems.
Great problems to have.
Yeah. It's something I've thought about. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, to go in and basically just go into a large business and say, hey, I'd love to get all of your employees or some of your employees on some kind of a health challenge or a weight loss challenge or whatever, and see if we can get them involved and maybe get the actual company to pay for it, to help see how much money or how much weight they can lose in a certain amount of time or whatever, just to get them thinking about eating microgreens. So we've thought about stuff like that before, but just haven't pursued it yet.
Around here, most of our large places are state. We're the capital, so most of them are state employees, and at least half, if not more, still have been sent home. They're still working from home. They're not bringing them back because they figured out they don't have to house them in their places and they can still get their job done. So it's just for us, we thought about that when we first started because we heard about that. We're like, oh, that'd be great. And then obviously, what happened, and everybody got sent home. So it's just not something we can really pursue because it's not really that big of a office spaces nowadays. So.
For sure.
Depends on where you're at, I guess, if you have that still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, I took a new space, then asked about my neighbor's bigger space at the property manager said, sure. Ooh, then I clicked it off, so I can't read it. My neighbor's bigger space, and the property manager said, sure, we can get you in it for February, same price. So she's moving not only into the new space, but also into another new space to get more space.
Awesome.
So twice
Nice.
Jennifer's going to be moving.
That's awesome, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen pictures of her space too. It's cool looking.
Yes. Let's see more member questions. We are running close on time now.
I don't see a timer going, so that's why
the timer died. So we are out of time. We were in a little bit of overtime. Okay. We had some good questions.
I do want to highlight the fact that Mike did Detroit Mike. I don't know how your Lions are doing right now, but thank you for giving away the membership. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
And congratulations
that's awesome, man.
To, I think it was, who did he get it?
Who got it?
I know, right? I'm looking. I got to scroll.
Mark was already there.
No, Mark was already there. And then.
Oh, yeah, that was this morning.
Yeah.
Lordy.
Mark re-upped what Mark did.
Eric became a sponsor.
Eric.
Today, so that would be
nice
membership. Good job.
If you're still here, Eric, thank you. And welcome. Congratulations.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the giveaway. And we'll answer why Jess brings that up. I will answer maybe a few other questions that come up. So here Aspen, to clarify on the cilantro, the undergrowth that is yellow is the lower leaves and the stems. The higher leaves or stems are fully green, and how to fix and avoid that problem in the future.
So it sounds like a beginning with damping off.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's also, I think a lot of it is probably maybe overseeding as well still, but you probably have both issues going on. Would you say, Andy?
Yeah. What's your seed density? Yeah. I'll put your seed density in the chat, and at least we can try and get back to you through that means. But that would be my guess as well. I agree with what Jess said and what you said.
Oh. 31-23. Whoop, whoop.
Hopefully in a good way.
Detroit.
Lions win.
Lions win. Congratulations, Detroit Mike.
All right.
That is awesome. Bagel.
I will have to root against you when you go up against the 49ers. Sorry.
Yeah. Growing Microgreen /bagel/Josh says Cheryl should partner up with her holistic health doctors. In the beginning, we partnered with one in our area and ran a subscription model for her patients. That's a good thought.
There you go.
The holistic health
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah. Are you bringing up the giveaway?
I am. So
If you haven't got it in yet, go ahead and put in hashtag Thumbcast.
I have 21 entries, guys.
21
I know we
entries.
got more. They got 37 people watching right now. So I think we need to get some more
Free.
hashtag Thumbcast in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looks like she's 30 grams.
So that's not far off.
No, that's pretty much right on.
Yeah.
Right. So
Airflow. Next thought.
Yeah, it might be airflow or overwatering. Because with cilantro, it's really easy to overwater.
Yep. Check your watering.
Very, very small amount.
Dial it back little by little and see if you still keep on having the issues. I would water to the point where maybe you need to go check in 12 hours and see. I don't recommend watering twice, but when you're having issues, water really light, go back in 12 hours and see if it's dry. And if you need to weigh your water, then you know you need more water. And then just water a little bit and keep doing that method till you get it back to 24 hours to where this is drying out right when you're getting ready to water. But that's what we've had to do on a few products. We just water very lightly, go back check 12 hours and see when there is. Obviously, we were in the house, so it was easier. Although we're probably here anyway right now. So, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so just go check every 12 hours and make sure that it's good. It's my recommendation.
All right. Farmer Cheryl said, have you scheduled a virtual GAP training class yet? Is it still possible to participate? We have not done it yet.
I'm going to put a post out this week. I'm going to do it when we get off of here. I'm going to put a post out on the website, on the community post, YouTube community, guys. I'll tag in Andy's group and everything else as well on that. And we'll see if we can get some people to do that. Best days for us is Fridays. It's either Friday or Thursdays, really Fridays. Fridays or Saturdays are the best days for us. So hopefully that would work out with everybody else. So, but we definitely need to get that done because I really would like to get in this distributor. So,
yes, I spent all of my Friday this week at a FSMA class.
yes.
Food Safety Modernization Act. And this book is, I kid you not, like 50 pounds by Cornell University.
Yes, here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you this.
And guys, if you're over $37,000, like Carol was saying the other day, you're going to need to go through this class. At least one person in your organization. This is what they're going to come in. It's separate from GAP even. But they're working from that $600,000 down businesses and working their way down. Every farm that does over, Andy's already went through this. And if you already have the training in place, it's a lot better off. You know what they're going to come in and look for. So it was 8 hours, and the organization that we were part of paid for that class. So that was nice. So but definitely get that and get GAP. So they're two separate things, really.
Yeah, this is part of the Food Safety Modernization Act,
Big
produce
book.
safety training, and it's 7-8 modules of. I tried to stay awake. I did pretty good. I did good. It was long.
She was in the front row. She had to stay awake.
Yeah.
My mistake. I sit in the
Yeah.
front row. I'm a front row sitter. I'm blind, so I know that. But yeah, it was interesting. Trying to stay awake through all of the long parts. They really love soil. Fair warning, guys. They love soil in that. All right. Any more entries? We've got 23
I think it's
so
stabilized,
far.
though.
Looks like we're pretty much stable.
So I think we
So,
go ahead and
I think we'll go ahead and draw.
draw here. If you are a winner, if you could be ready in the chat to put between 1 and 30 clicks, it just does on the mouse, and then we'll spin the wheel and see what you win.
All
So-
right. Ready?
All them great prizes on there. Going once,
All right,
going
my
twice.
guess is
spin.
What's Sandy's
my
guess?
guess is Farmer Cheryl.
Your guess is Farmer
That's
Cheryl?
my guess.
I'm gonna go with Robert Geach.
All right.
I
I'm
almost
usually
picked
never
Tracy,
right,
too, because he's giving me a
so-
hard time. I've only been right twice or 3 times.
Thomas.
Yes.
Hey.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Nice.
Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Thomas.
Thomas. Yes, Kim, we are all winners here. Agreed.
Aw. Thank you, Kim.
Kim. Thomas, how many times did you like to spin? We give it about 5-10 seconds here, and then we will go with 7 if you don't pick a number. And we keep on forgetting to mention, please be
Oh, he picked
present
7.
to win. So there it's 7. There we go. That's a good number.
Yeah, it makes it a whole lot easier when you're here.
Yes, it does
Yes.
make it easier to do the drawing.
All
All
right.
right. Is it up?
Yep. 7. Let's go.
7. 1.
Good luck. You don't have to be good luck. Everything on here is
Good
great.
luck, Thomas.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
true.
one-on-one with Andy. Oh, our 6-month farm flow.
Oh,
Oh,
even better. Nice.
farm flow.
That's a nice gift.
Yes.
Awesome.
That is over $100 value there. $120 value, roughly.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, very nice.
So Andy, you want to get your information
Thomas, I'm
out
going to post my email in the I'm going to post my email in the chat.
Yes.
And if you don't have an account already, obviously you can either create one or however you want to set it up. It's completely up to you. I'll have to go back and see if you have an account. There's so many people in here at this point. It's hard to keep track. So
That's a good problem.
but yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, good problem to have. Phenomenal problem to have. So congratulations. I'll definitely make that happen for you.
All right.
Awesome.
And the nice
All
thing is if
right.
you already have an account, you get 6 months tacked on to what you've already done. So works out good. Ask Mario.
Yep.
He
He
got
said he
3
already
months
has
a
an
couple weeks ago.
account. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Perfect.
So he gets some bonus time.
Yep.
awesome.
I love it.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll tack
Alright.
6 months on to where you are right now and you'll be good to go, man. That's awesome.
That is awesome. All right, guys. I don't see any more impressive questions or any major questions or anything like that. Anything to closing statements, all that good stuff?
Nope. Thank you guys again for all joining us. We'll be back again next week with the regulation one. We'll try and make it as fun as possible, but is this something you need to know about? So, and I am doing a live myself this Thursday at 6 p.m. And it's going to go over what you can actually make on a rack. I know there's a lot of misinformation out there and telling people, hey, you can make this grand amount of money and you're going to be the greatest microgreen grower ever. You're going to become a billionaire. I'm going to give you the real numbers, our numbers that we grow, how much we make off of each tray, and then give you guys the real information. It's not bad. It's still a good number, but it's not fake. So I hope you guys join me for that. That will be done live Thursday at 6 p.m.
Perfect.
Andy?
Nice. No, I got nothing else, man.
Nothing.
Everybody
All
have
right.
a good week.
All right.
I'm glad that 91% of you guys are thinking ahead, about what you
Yes.
want to get to your next step to grow your operation. That's awesome. So obviously you got the 2 of us available, through the groups, through coaching, things like that. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that. We can help you get there faster and more efficiently. So that's part of what we do. So don't hesitate to reach out for coaching opportunities.
All right. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys. Have a wonderful night.
All right. See you guys. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.